What do you guys think about this idea of planned shrinkage, where instead of waiting for the houses to become abandoned and then pulling them down, you demolish entire blocks or even entire neighborhoods? Is that a good way to go about this creative downsizing?
Well, the language in which the message is framed is very critical. And there are a lot of sensitivities that can emerge depending on the language, or whether you call it shrinkage, downsizing, re-engineering. There has to be a sensitivity to that. But that what you describe is a very kind of practical, tactical, physical scenario in which you start accomplishing the new physical reality of what the city will be. Again, done with great sensitivity, but the incentives offered have to be more than par value to whoever's involved. But for me, it brings up questions about, well, the decommissioned areas of the city. And right now, Detroit has approximately over 100,000 parcels of land that are empty. I think 30 to 40 square miles of the city are bare. How is that managed? Do they become a primeval forest again? Are they commercial agricultural enterprises? Are they a mixture of that and community-based gardens? All that are very interesting questions, and there's so much space and room for that. I think all those scenarios could be accommodated, into a kind of new formula of healthy living.
I think the decommissioning of areas is dependent on what you're going to put in that area and making sure that what you put there is valuable and useful to the community. Also, the danger is, again, it goes in the face of a long tradition in the United States of property rights values and allowing a development to occur at will. The natural pace of development is people can buy property wherever they would like to buy property and develop whatever they would like to develop on that property. And what you're talking about is the government involvement in capturing property that was previously privately owned and either making it public property, as in parks, or reselling it to another privately owned individual or company to redevelop. And so it's going to be a difficult process to get moving, because it really goes in the face of the long-standing tradition in the United States of property rights and the natural capitalist system.
There's actually a real interesting success story in regards to what Frank said that's happening right now in Flint. Flint was a very prosperous, middle-sized city as late as the 1960s, of a city of around 200,000, and it had hopes of getting to be as big as 350,000. It updated its master plan in 1965. Now it's approximately a city of 110,000, with maybe 20 to 25% of the city in severe disrepair. Where Dan Kildee, who's the Genesee County treasurer, immediately saw that along with the tradition of managed and designed growth, we need managed and designed downsizing. So what they've done is established a land bank that allows an authority to quickly reclaim abandoned or delinquent properties as an asset to then be resold to generate money, which then can be poured back into the city where it needs to. This program has been on board since 2002, and a lot of people don't know about it. It's kind of a local success story that a lot of us as design professionals may not know about. But in 2007, that whole program, in fact, won an award from Harvard University's Kennedy School of Management as a successful political economic device in which to assuage urban decay.
And then part of the genius of that is the fact that there was enough foresight to realize the shifting market forces from suburban development back to urban development. And one of the critical things that we've seen happen over the past 50 years is that money that was in the city sort of matriculated out to all the suburbs. And so this example is sort of reversing that trend back towards cities. And I wanted to get back to something that Frank was talking about with the property rights. I think that eminent domain in the U.S. right now is a very, very sticky subject, especially I think it was 2007 the Supreme Court ruled on an eminent domain case in favor of a city taking property and giving it to a private development corporation.
Connecticut, I think.
Yeah, and what that caused is it basically caused pretty much every state to recoil and pull back and just adjust all of their eminent domain laws and make it a lot more difficult for cities to take large chunks of land, large quantities of properties. And I know that in Michigan already, because of Poll Town, we already had some very difficult eminent domain rules that I guess don't allow cities to go in and take several properties at once. So I guess based upon a whole slew of decisions and a whole bunch of stuff that's gone on in the past, we're very limited at our capacity to assemble these large swaths of land. And now that property is coming down in value, there might be an opportunity to do that again, but I don't see it being the traditional government takeover method.
Yeah, the challenge of democracy is to develop consensus, and in the area that you're going to do that, you have to develop consensus among the community that this is a good thing to do, and that most of the people, 90% of the people in the area agree that this is an important thing to improve the community. Otherwise, it is a top-down, eminent domain situation where people, some people at least, would be left out of the process. Back to the success of Flint, though, there are communities in the country, Ann Arbor being one, Portland, I believe, the other, where they're doing this proactively. Before decay has actually happened, they're purchasing land around their urban cores so that they can dedicate that land to parkland and to other uses that and not allow the city to expand out as far as it could possibly. And that way, they kind of proactively keep the city condensed and hopefully stave off deterioration. So.
And Derek, with your comment, you basically said with this whole exploration and discovery of a new urban reality, there's also a need to develop and discover new tools, politically, economically, procedurally, to implement these ideas.
Yeah.
And we're kind of in new and uncharted areas that will have to rally a lot of different forces from different sectors, from the industrial sector, the economic sector, the political, at the state, county, and city level, along with the community as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the process of working strictly in the governmental realm has just become entirely too cumbersome. Recently I met with a developer who's trying to buy property in Detroit and redevelop green neighborhoods. And this developer happens to be from Los Angeles and is very interested in the energy that he sees in Detroit. But the problem is that the property taxes are so difficult to make work in terms of their pro forma. It's almost a non-starter. So they're desperately looking for grassroots, community-based ways of being able to get over this, so they don't have to go to city council and beg for property tax abatements and all of these really complicated government tools that we have. And it's not to say that we can't use that, because I've seen it be successful in Grand Rapids, with enterprise zones and a whole variety of tax incentives that they put into place. But it takes regional cooperation, and it takes a certain amount of what would you say, like foresightful thinking in terms of the city. So the city's very on top of each of these districts and has been sort of they've highly managed each of these areas so that they're built for success.